All rise for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Alvarez.
Present.
Councilman Cypress.
Here.
Councilman Lorca.
Here.
Councilman O'Connor.
Here.
Supervisor Hay.
Here. Notation of the exits in the front and the rear. An electronic device, please put it on vibrate. I make a motion to come out of the exec session. No action was taken.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's a proclamation tonight that I've given to John O'Connor recognizing the 2023 St. Patrick's Day Parade Grand Marshal as Patrick J. O'Malley. Want to say a quick few words, John?
Yes, so actually, Mr. O'Malley's grandfather was the first Grand Marshal of the parade quite a few years ago. And it's with great pleasure that, we asked for this for the Putnam County Emerald Association, and looking forward to seeing the parade kick off in March. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I make a motion to go into the work session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. First up is the discussion, Building Department update. Michael, would you want to come up to the mic, please? Do you want to go with your update? And then we have a couple items here that I put on the agenda, so you can go first, and we'll go to those next. And if they're included in your presentation, we'll just cross it off.
Yeah, I kind of touched on them, and I brought some backup material, so I'll try to answer any questions that you have. So.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. At the request of the board, I'll provide a short summary of our efforts over the past year in the building department. For members of the audience unfamiliar with the Town of Southeast Building Department, we are tasked with the administration and enforcement of the New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code and the New York State Energy Code. In addition, we enforce provisions of the Town of Southeast Code, including zoning, property maintenance, rental registration, and parking. 2022 was an active year again for the building department. The department issued 1,469 permits, including 108 for rental occupancy, performed 1,396 building inspections, 120 fire inspections, and 165 operational permit inspections. In addition, 649 certificates were issued and 373 title searches were completed. I would like to recognize our staff for the incredible job they do in performing the tremendous work output. In 2022, code enforcement efforts were ongoing. The department reviewed 357 complaints and issued 241 notices of violation. As indicated to the board previously, we have made a recommendation to reestablish a full-time position of zoning enforcement officer. Providing a qualified individual dedicated 100% to zoning enforcement will enable the department to more effectively enforce our codes. Our department experienced a substantial volume of new construction, including new single-family home construction at Fortune Ridge, 168 units of multifamily construction at Barrett Hill, a new Subaru dealership adjacent to the recently completed Restaurant Depot, large-scale additions to the Ace Endico facility, commercial buildings at Fields Lane, and the commencement of the Lincoln Logistics Project. At Lakeview Plaza, the exterior elevations have been updated and the Planet Fitness has been completed. Based on what appears to be a strong commercial market, our department has witnessed an increase in commercial zoning inquiries. While the proposed use presented often is not a permitted use in the proposed zone, the activity appears to indicate the interest in our community. Entering 2023, the building department has requested that the town board evaluate proposed increases to the fee schedule, suggested code changes to enable enforcement of commercial parking in residential zones, and provided modifications to the code restricting the transient rental of dwelling units. The town board has indicated their desire to review these recommendations this evening.
Right. Okay. Any questions of the board to start?
I'll wait.
So, Jenny,
question, but I don't know if you want to go into.
No, no,
something
it-
specific.
If it comes across there, we'll just deal with it. Go ahead,
Okay.
ask the question.
Mike, most of us were actually at a meeting last night, and the topic of, with a bunch of people from the community, and the topic of code enforcement came up, and there was a lot of discussion about it. And, you know, we've discussed that a lot. I've definitely seen an increase in the NOVs that have gone out. But one of the biggest complaints is some of the really bad properties around town. So, you know, I've looked some of them up, and you've sent stuff, I know we've driven around, and a lot of those really bad properties have a violation against them. And I've come and seen them in court, and, you know, I know prosecuting can be challenging, but my question for you is, in some cases, these homes get written up for like one thing, like property maintenance.
Right.
And there may be like a boarded up window, and I don't know I looked at the New York State Code quickly, but it seems like there could be, in looking at these buildings, like 10 things that could be written up. Is there any reason why we don't write up to 10, or can we start to write up the 10 so that we don't piecemeal it and we can be more effective?
We can definitely look at properties that have an expansive number of violations, and rather than just issuing a ticket that might address one or two, address them all. It is more time consuming, and you know, from a prosecution standpoint, and Will might be better speaking to that, I don't know if you give somebody 50 tickets, okay, whether or not the local court is gonna issue a fine for, you know, $10,000 or $7,500. But
Well, theoretically, any violation seriously stands by itself. And we
Right.
have, in our code, we have for a violation, a range of fines. So
Right.
conceivably, if we ended up going to a trial, we could ask for a fine to be imposed on each violation that's been written. And you don't have to necessarily issue 50 different summonses, but you can do a long form and have it different, various counts.
Right.
You know, count one, violating building code section, you know, a broken soffit. Count two, violating building code section, a missing stair, you know, stair railing. So you could do it that way,
Right.
so that you would have different counts and not writing, you know, 50 summonses. You could issue one summons with a long form information spelling out all the numerous individual violations that may be
okay,
affected.
I appreciate that. The you know, last year was kind of an interesting year in a lot of ways. As you know, we moved over to a new software program. We had a really busy year based on from a building standpoint, based on a lot of the projects that came online. I do think, you know, as I've pointed out again tonight, that we certainly would benefit if we had an individual that was capable and full-time to do that. But with respect to continued enhancement of the zoning code enforcement, by all means, 2023, we can certainly emphasize that. And if more specific violations is something that would, the board would find, you know, appealing, you know, I don't have any issue with that.
You know, I'll just, not to beat this, but, you know, just seeing some of these, like, it may get written up for property maintenance, we come out, clean up the rubbish in the yard, but there's 7 other things, that gets cleared, and we lose sight of it. So I do think it'd be helpful, understand it's more work, so you may wanna just start with the worst ones, and, depending on the workload. And, the other, just, you don't have to answer, but hopefully the audit that Z3 is doing will provide some insight on how we can help you and, any efficiencies or that we
Sure.
can,
Yep.
or support.
Yeah, I reached out to Gary recently, and I'm hoping for some feedback. I had asked him specifically if he could take a look at our rental registration code for any recommendations on enforcement there. But, yeah, it's been certainly a challenge keeping up with it, but, you know, we've got a good staff, and we'll continue hammering at it.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Michael, these transient rentals that have really seemed to skyrocket in the past week, I mean, more so than ever before, do they have to apply for our rental registration?
They do, and there has been an increase in inquiries and complaints. And that's why I posed the question about whether we could modify our code to identify and define transient rentals. I've looked at the code, you know, frontwards, backwards. I can't see where I can restrict somebody that wants to rent out their house to a single family every weekend from doing so. So I think it could be pretty simply codified to restrict it if that's what the town board is interested in doing. But they would still have to comply with rental registration, yes.
Do you know,
To answer your question.
how many do you have that identify themselves as transient rental? Do you have on that code? Do you have any that identify
Well,
as,
they don't.
they don't do anything?
They don't reach out to me.
So they're now in violation, because I mean, we've received in the past week, someone's going online, I think you even went online and found a couple.
Yeah,
People are renting.
we issued one where we had received a complaint on Gage Road. We went online, we found a handful of other ones. One of the problems with the way they're advertised a lot of times is, unless you know the house, there's no address provided. So you kind of have to be able to identify it. So I've got a couple that I've been able to identify, and then we'll be working to try to identify the other ones, but,
If you need help with that, let me know, because I think we know some of them.
okay, yeah.
So they definitely have to, in our current code, they should be filing a rental registration.
Yeah, so
How about if they rent a room? Is a room considered a rental as well? I would think it would be.
rental occupancy is defined as the occupancy or use of a dwelling unit by one or more persons as a home or residence under an arrangement whereby the occupant or occupants thereby pay rent for such occupancy and use.
And there's no time limit, like I know some other municipalities break it down into under 30 and over 30, we don't have a time limit?
The only place we have that is like for the hotels,
Okay.
And we can.
but these are residential properties, so they don't qualify under that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about adding more codes to it, but as a minimum, if they should be doing rental registration, we should at least pursue that.
Okay,
And
I know,
ensures they're safe and ensures we know about them.
and I guess most of the concern is with a lot of the neighbors. There's one down a lake there where I guess they have up to 12 occupants. And, you know, as they expanded their septic system, I don't think there's many houses that were built in the town of Southeast that have 12 rooms or 12 rentals.
And that's kind of where things get a little difficult with whether that's legal, because if it's got 12 occupants and they're not related, then they're not a family. But
That's not necessarily true.
under the definition of the zoning code, it's 6 or more unrelated people, or 6 or more.
But that's not what the Supreme Court has said. If they're
Okay.
living as a family unit, then they can be treated as a family unit.
Okay.
Meaning that there's only one kitchen, there's shared
Right.
bathrooms.
Right. The,
That's,
again, it definitely becomes more difficult. It's difficult to enforce the way some people live or use their homes. Now, if you have people coming in that may present, well, we're only 4 of us renting the place, and then, you know, it turns out to be 20 people. Now all of a sudden, you've got a problem on your hands.
Within current rental registration, and let's say it's advertised at 12, as part of your check on that, is there any, what's allowed by Board of Health and that kind of stuff?
We would identify how many bedrooms they have and how large the bedrooms are for the purposes of determining how many occupants can safely inhabit the dwelling.
So in the one complaint we have now, theoretically, you could decide if 12 is too high or not.
Definitely, yeah.
okay.
So for
So-
now, I think we should at least work within our current
Yeah.
rental registration and then see if the problem gets any worse, if we need to do anything else.
Well, I'm quite sure it's gonna get worse, because in the past 2 weeks, it's really risen to the top. I mean, I've heard of a few, but all of a sudden, they're rising up fast. So send us the pictures. They're out there renting. What'd you find one for, $80 a night?
70 for one bedroom within a house on Joe's Hill.
And then,
I saw one they were renting for $1,080 a night,
That's
Yeah,
on
we saw
Milltown
that.
Road.
Milltown Road.
Yeah, 18 people or something like that.
Well, that building is a ridiculous building.
Yeah, I've been in it.
I've been
Who-
through it.
Who would pay
Bizarre.
$1,000 a night to go there? I don't know. Anyway, the $70 a room scares me.
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of indicating kind of definitely not a family unit.
okay, so I know Z3 has been working with you, and you forwarded us some of his fees, the fee schedule.
Right.
And it went from one extreme, I think, to another. So I'm going to ask that you sit with myself, Z3, Eric, I know you helped get Z3 here. We have to do something different than what was, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
big time. The
That-
commercial jumped out of sight, and the residential dropped, which I don't have a problem with, but, you know, going to the square feet measurements, we have to work a little better, because we want to get it passed. We passed a couple of them that were, you put forward, which were easy ones, but some of those drastic changes, we got to sit down pretty quick to get them arranged.
You know, some of the elements of what he recommended, I think have some validity. So where people start a project without permits and approvals, we really didn't have a means within our fee schedule of finding them. I mean, we had a small fee for a stop work order. I think it was $250. So he's elevated that up quite a bit. He's putting in fees for work started, or larger fees for work started without permits.
Mhm.
Currently, I think we charge $150. I mean, he's up quite a bit higher than that.
When you say fees, are you talking about fines, or are you talking about
No fees.
It's a fee.
To-
It's
to
in the
pull-
fee
Pull a
schedule.
permit, to pull a permit.
to pull a permit?
Yeah.
You're talking about a stop work order, though.
That's
If
different.
that's is that a violation of a stop work order?
There's
No.
a stop work order fee in the fee schedule.
So if you issue a stop work order, they have to pay you a fee?
I
We
guess
have the
to,
right to
to
collect.
start the work.
We've had the right to collect. It's a fee. It's on the fee schedule.
Okay,
So would that be that they get the stop work order, then to resolve it, they have to pay that fee
to
before
lift the stop work order.
I don't know.
Generally, if they violate the stop work order, then they should be coming before the court unless they are, okay, I think I understand what you're saying.
And then, you know, some of the other fees that he had recommended increasing were affiliated with our fire inspections and operating permit inspections, which I don't think had been addressed in quite some time.
Well, some of the easy ones went through on the first round, and let's get together pretty much ASAP
Yep.
to work on the others, but there's a drastic change with one, and we have to come to a more of
Yeah,
a
there
happy
was,
medium.
I thought that the square foot rate, certainly amounted to a very large scale increase, which I think you'd get a lot of pushback from and potentially lawsuits from. So I think we want to avoid that and come up with a fairer.
Okay, can you work on
Rate.
the schedule with Z3 so we can sit down and try to
Okay.
work that out?
I'll
so we
reach,
get that
I'll
done?
reach out to Gary and make those arrangements.
Okay. You also forwarded us, a recommendation about enforcement of commercial vehicle parking. Do you want to discuss that so the board can discuss that with you this evening as well?
Yeah, so under our current code, on residential properties, a resident can park a commercial vehicle not weighing more than 10,000 pounds outdoors, so in their driveway, okay? Any other commercial vehicles they have to be parked in a garage. That code only applies between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., 7 days a week. So to enforce that law would mean going to somebody's property between 11 and 6 a.m. and identifying that there's more than one commercial vehicle weighing less than 10,000 pounds parked in their driveway. So that is clearly not a effective way to enforce a law, because number one, we don't have people working those hours. Number two, you'd have to go on their property essentially in the middle of the night, identify yourself. So I don't think it's effective the way it's written. And I asked if we could take the time limitation off. Somebody's got multiple commercial vehicles parked on their property, regularly. We've gotten complaints about specific properties. We'd be able to go there, develop evidence that they do this on a regular basis, and be able to enforce that code.
Now, we've all had an opportunity to see that recommendation. I'm just going to suggest Michael formalize it and put it on our next meeting to put it out, and if it's changed to the code, we'll have to have a public hearing on it.
Agreed.
Agree?
Yeah, agreed.
And Michael, the only suggestion I made on that, you had town, county, and I added the word state road as well?
Correct,
Good? Okay, so you want to formalize that again?
Sure,
Add the final wording, how you want to see it, and we'll discuss it and have a public hearing on it?
will do.
Can I just ask one
Yes.
to clarify? So what you're proposing is you can never have more than one, and they all have to be under 10,000?
So parked outside.
Right, yeah, parked outside.
If they have more than one, or one that weighs more than 10,000, we would be able to enforce that code there would be no restriction on the time of day.
Right, yeah, that's what I
And
said.
I think the other thing I added to that was if there was a valid building permit where you could anticipate that there might be several commercial vehicles, we're not gonna write tickets to people because they've got people working on their house.
And how do you verify the 10,000 pounds?
Registration,
How do you see the registration?
you have to go on the property and,
Would it be on the registration sticker?
yeah,
It would say,
gross,
Yeah,
gross
GWV.
vehicle weight, yeah.
Oh, it's on-
Any vehicle over a certain weight, if it's the heavy vehicles we're talking, it has a HUD sticker in addition for heavy vehicle emissions. So you can see that right on the front bumper.
Okay.
So, I mean, there may be some pushback, because I imagine there's some contractors in the community that park more than one commercial vehicle on their property that we're not picking up, but
just drive right down Milltown Road. Third house on the left.
but I guess when the pushback happens, it'll It'll start with me and probably move on to you.
Okay, I think you hit all the points that were on it. I added a couple extra, which is good. Any other questions to the board?
Not at this time.
Thanks for coming, Mike.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mike.
Thank you, Michael.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Okay, second item for discussion, assessor department update, please.
Good evening. So we've got 3 items that I thought were worth reviewing tonight.
Lori,
because we.
just identify yourself for the
Oh,
public.
sorry, Lori Bell, assessor for the town of Southeast.
Thank you.
A month ago, at the meeting the end of December, I briefed you all on these 3 items, and I'm just looking for a little bit more direction, whether it be additional discussion tonight or next week, whether we hold a public hearing and then look to vote on these next month. Just trying to keep the ball rolling, because March 1st is my taxable status date by which any and all changes need to be effective. So the first item is the volunteers exemption. It's currently on the books. The new legislation that amended that current exemption allows for 10% off the assessment with no dollar cap, which is a non-negotiable thing at this point based on legislation. The question is, our current exemption on the books provides for a minimum years of service of 5 years. The amended legislation allows for 2, 3, 4, or 5 years of service. So I'm looking to the town board to determine if they want to lower the number of years of service, and if so, to what? And then, like I said, I think we need to, will we have to have a public hearing for that before we amend the local law, right?
Yeah, well, you'd have to, yes, you definitely have to.
Yeah, okay.
As part of it.
So I'm looking to the town board to see if you know, which number of years you want to use, and then we can have the public hearing and make the adoption.
What is the current?
5 years.
And then
Lori,
the
was there
new
a s- I'm
legislation allows for anywhere from T3, 4, or 5?
Correct, with a minimum of 2, either, or 3, or 4, or up to 5, correct. And we currently have 5. The legislation is currently 5. Eric, you had a question for me?
Was that the one that there was a step, or was that in the senior one?
That's the seniors.
Okay.
No, this is just, currently, it's 10% off your assessment, but with a cap of $3,000. So a lot of the volunteers, they take the income tax credit instead, because it turns out to be more dollars for them in terms of a benefit. But with the cap being eliminated, you know, depending on how much the value of your house is, if you get a flat 10% off the value of your house, it's a much larger exemption.
You did jump over to senior disability one.
Not yet. No.
No, that was the first, okay.
This is the volunteers.
I know, but that's the second one on my list.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
No
I didn't
problem.
have I didn't print out the agenda.
No problem.
Apologies.
Okay.
So I'm just looking for guidance from the town board as to what number of years you want to have this modified legislation, whether you want to keep it at the 5 years or if you want to lower it to 2, 3, or 4 years.
I want to keep it at 5, is the way I want to go.
Okay?
I would say the same.
Okay?
Yeah, I agree.
Eric? John?
Yeah.
Okay, any other Eric?
Yeah, you know, it's always kind of interesting to hear the public before we make a decision.
Well, that would be during the public hearing,
Yeah.
Will? For
Yeah.
public comment during a public hearing?
Well, that's what a public hearing is.
Right, well, I'm addressing
But I mean,
Eric's.
what we could do, if you really want to, you know, put up a proposed local law with, saying that to consider the possibility of reducing the number of years, I can draft public hearing notice that way, and after the public hearing, if there's, you know, strong sentiment one way or another, you could make that determination. If that's what you know, would like to do to get the input of the public.
Yeah, the only reason I'm a little bit torn on this is because I know they have a lot of recruiting issues, and it'd be nice to have a lot of people that want to volunteer, so, anyway. Yeah, I'm
but
fine with 5
But I
for
think
now.
the 5 weeds out people that are just doing it to get an immediate benefit and really have no commitment to pursue, you know, being a volunteer firefighter for more than the 2 years or the 3 years. I think at 5, now, I just feel that, you know, you've proven, okay, I'm in for the long haul, you know, I'm really trying to do something for my community.
Yeah.
That's just the way I look at it.
Good point.
As a frame of reference, so with the list I received from one person at the fire department, fire district, we currently only have 23 volunteers that are receiving the exemption. I believe a lot of people are taking the income tax credit. according to the list I have that I looked through quickly, there are 69 members that currently qualify under the 5-year threshold. There are an additional 17 that would have less than 5 years. And speaking to the recruitment thing, they have 9 members currently on a probationary status. So I don't know if they really are experiencing a recruiting issue, but they've got 9 that are on probation. I imagine it has to do with training, number of fires they respond to.
Also,
John, you
whether
could
they
speak to that.
Own home or not? That would-
Yes, so, the ones that I'm seeing on the probationary, looks like they are currently, one looks like it might be a resident, most of them are all single-family ownerships. I have to imagine that they own. But I could look into that further. Just saying, it's, we've got some leeway there.
Or you don't have the breakdown of 2, 3, or 4 for the 17, do you?
I could add it up.
Don't do it, yeah, it's fine. Just
Add it
curious.
up, get it to you.
Will, if we public hearing at 5 days, and then we get a lot of feedback and decide to change it to whatever, 3, would you have to public hearing it again, or we could just make that adjustment?
What I was suggesting is that we propose a local law to consider the amendment of that section of the volunteer exemption provision of our tax code, to reduce the number of years to, say, 2, which is the minimum you could do. You can always, because you're not, modifying it, if you're gonna reduce it from 5 to, say, 4, it's not wouldn't be considered a major change in the, it'd be a lesser change, if you will, in the law, because we're now at 5, you advertise it at 2, and if you want to settle somewhere in between, you can do that without a second public hearing.
Because, I don't want to tie it up, and then we can't hit the March 1st, so.
And as part of the public hearing, right, we can also publish the notice that all the towns have 3 years in order to implement this before this existing exemption criteria will sunset. So we're all trying to get ahead of it and get it on the books now. So with that public hearing, would that also address the fact that the $3,000 assessment value cap would no longer be in effect under the amended legislation as proposed?
I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Okay, so there's 2 facets to the amended legislation. One is that it's now a 10% cap, at 10% off the assessment with no dollar cap, whereas currently it's a $3,000 maximum. In addition to whether or not with the option of lowering the number of years of service, so it's a 2-point change. I just
So
wanted
then that cap would be thrown out
there's no more cap.
so there'd be a 10% without a dollar value.
Correct.
Some of the assessments around here, that'd be pretty expensive.
Lori, my question to you then is based on that, putting aside 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, right? Now, for argument's sake, like you were saying, before, with the cap before, it was more beneficial for people to take it on their taxes. Now, in theory, that's gonna change, I'm sure, a majority of the folks that will, take it off their taxes versus will the numbers really change? I mean, we still have 69 people, or all of a sudden will 69, I'm making it up, become 150?
No, I mean, I'm going off the member list, so I've got 69 members that currently qualify for 5 years or more service. Only 23 of them currently have the exemption. So we have
So you're gonna assume that, right, 23
It could be
is
2 to
gonna
3
jump
times
to
more.
69.
Right,
just
exactly.
to keep it simple.
Exactly,
Thank you.
exactly.
And I did some quick math, and I can't remember exactly my calculation of that one, but even in the worst-case scenario, it would only shift the burden, I think, under $10 to other residents, so.
Sure.
The next one is the one I'm concerned about, but yeah, this one is not a big impact on.
Okay, so we can put this down for a public hearing then for the first February meeting?
I don't think so, because the first meeting is on February 2nd, and the time won't allow it, because we missed the deadline for this one. You have to put it in a week, 10 days before.
And when is the second?
February 16th.
And there's not a third meeting in February, is there?
No. We have a special
Unless we
meeting.
just hold a special meeting.
We have a special meeting.
Okay. Okay,
And usually we have give a 5 or 10-day written period, we'll just have to waive that and, to get it in time.
So the public hearing will be at the second meeting, and then we'll have a special meeting just to vote.
Yes.
just to pass it.
Actually, well, yeah, you have to give it a little time that we listen to what the people say in the public hearing.
Yep.
So about a week later, we'll set a meeting to, after the public comment, see if we have to adjust it.
So I'm sorry, what was the date for the second meeting?
February 16th.
Okay.
And will tonight, no, not tonight, but could you get that prepared for us for the meetings for the 16th? But we have to put it in 10 days before, so. You know the dates better over there than I do. They have to have it by a Thursday, it's too late. So next Thursday, you got plenty of time.
And that gives you time for March 1st?
Today's the 19th.
No, go to-
Yeah.
no, go to the next one.
Yeah, this is just a matter of
I don't think it's gonna be 10 days.
adopting it. And I
We'll get
mean,
it published
I can let
in
the
the
fire
advance.
department know
That's
that it's
what-
been adopted, and they can do a
That's not
quick
the
mailing, or I
municipal
can
rule.
give them the application, and they
Okay,
can
second.
hand it out to all the members.
We could maybe say,
This-
I'll
in theory, take
I'll check the
effect then
statute, but I
this
I don't.
This
year.
coming assessment roll, yeah, mm-hmm.
Whenever,
Right.
from May or something.
There are different
Correct. Tentative roll in May,
requirements
correct.
for different things.
Okay.
But this is the municipal home rule law. I don't know that we have to do it 10 days in advance. We may be able to get it into the next paper.
Well, you'd have to do it tomorrow.
Yeah, and if they have space, they'll allow
Okay,
that.
so during the meeting, we'll try to have the public hearing for the 2nd.
Okay.
We'll
Great,
make that motion later on.
okay, awesome, thank you. So, the next item is the seniors. Okay, so, again, last month, I briefed you on the state's adoption of the modified legislation allowing for increase in the senior citizens' maximum income levels allowable for the senior citizens and the disability exemption. Gave you guys some numbers. The county has adopted the 3-year implementation. It's strongly recommended we do the 3-year phase-in just to minimize the impact and the potential shift. And the school district is looking to follow pretty much whatever the town and county has adopted, but there is the opportunity for them to be different. But normally, we all try to do it the same. So again, I'm just looking to the town board to see if you are in favor of the 3-year phase-in as the county adopted. And if we are, I believe, again, we need a public hearing to notice that we're doing a proposed, amendment to a local law for the town code.
When would you have that one, by? What's the date?
All my deadlines are the same.
Same.
Lori, when you spoke in December, I thought you said that the county and no other municipalities were going to get this one in for March 1st.
No,
Did
that was
change, or-
That was the volunteers. We didn't think the county was going to get on board in time, or the other towns for the
or for the
volunteer exemption.
volunteers, But the senior was always. okay.
Senior was passed back in December by the
Okay.
county. The volunteer exemption actually is on the county's rules agenda for tonight, so I'll know whether or not they pass that tonight.
Okay. So the question on the senior one is 3-year phase-in or what?
Or all at once, or
Okay,
anything
yeah.
in between,
No,
but
clearly,
yeah.
3 years.
3-year.
Yeah.
Lori, you said the school, and I'm sorry if I'm not understanding this all, but for hours, when we do this, whatever the discount that those seniors gets picked up by the other residents, is what, I know the STAR exemption, we don't really have to spread the pain on that, so if the school has the opportunity to do this discount as well,
Currently, the senior citizens exemption, as well as the volunteers exemption, was adopted by the town, the county, and the school district. So yes, if you have either one of those exemptions, it comes off of each of those 3 bills.
and picked up by the other people in the.
Correct.
So the school one is gonna have a pretty large impact. But that's
Yeah,
not
but
my
yeah,
fault.
because, that's 78% of the bills that we pay.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, Lori.
That's
and
okay.
The school already adopted the 3-year, or
The county adopted the 3-year. The school district is looking to adopt that next month.
okay.
They're kind of waiting to see what we're doing, but they've already had their meeting, I think, for this month.
So we're looking to do this on February 2nd as well, or,
But whenever we can get it done, yep, need another public hearing and resolution.
Will? Think we can get that accomplished as well?
You gotta give me the material on it, so I know. You have to give me the material on it, so I know
Mhm.
what to put in the.
I'll
plan.
recirculate it, mhm.
Can you do it tonight?
Sure,
before you go?
sure, I'll go back to my
We'll pay
office.
you overtime, don't worry.
Sure, I'll go back to my office, no problem. Will, do you want me to send you both?
Please.
Lori, does this one have to be in by March as well? What if it's not in by March?
And then it's not effective until 2024.
And it would still be a 3-year phase at
Yeah.
that point?
Yes.
Yep.
Or would it be
Well,
2 years?
Yeah, no, we could phase it in whenever we want, kind of.
The clock starts
But it's
ticking.
easier to be consistent.
So let's. Okay.
Eric, it's just easier to be consistent. So you don't want the county to have adopted a 3-year phase-in, and we haven't done anything. And we're gonna have a bunch of seniors where they may get 50% off now for the county bill, but they only qualify for 5% off on the town portion because we haven't adopted the new income limits.
Yeah.
You know, it's,
I am nervous about the impact of all this, but, okay.
and again, I have no way of predicting the dollar impact because even if we have, let's say, 300 potential residents that might fit under the new income criteria, I don't know how many are going to apply, and I don't know how many are going to qualify, and I don't know if they're going to qualify for 50% off or 5% off or anything in between.
Lori, one more question, sorry. How is this validated by anybody, the income limits? You? And is it revalidated every year? And and what do you use, like a W-2 statement?
90% of the time, if they file, it's a federal tax return
Okay,
from the prior year. And if it's someone who doesn't file anymore, then they have to supply their 1099s.
okay.
Yep, and
Thank you.
that's all on file.
I was gonna ask, this is not similar to STAR, that where it's kind of like automatic, once you apply
No,
once,
no.
it just keeps.
Seniors have to-
This one you have to,
Seniors have to reapply every year, so pretty much every other exemption has to be reapplied for every year, including the volunteers, the agricultural, the not-for-profits. The only one that's quote-unquote automatic, because the state took it over, is the enhanced STAR and the basic STAR. That's it.
Okay.
Now, the reason I'm asking for that tonight, we'll would have to have an opportunity to look at it quick to get it in for tomorrow, so you can forward me that information.
Yeah, I'll go back to my office.
Okay.
Yep, as soon as the meeting's over.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay.
And the last item then, were there any more questions on the seniors? No, okay.
Yep.
Was the ortho images, the aerials. Back in December, I had discussed a comparison between a company that has submitted a bid, for lack of a better description, contract proposal whereby they would fly the town twice a year with leaves off, which would enable various departments throughout the town, and at some point in the future, if the county adopts it, county services, to be able to better inventory certain parcels, especially that are otherwise not accessible. Michael Levine referred earlier to, you know, the need to go on somebody's property, and unless you have their permission, you're not supposed to be on it, you're supposed to view from the street, all that kind of stuff. We've got a lot of private driveways, a lot of large parcels where houses are way back, you know, maybe in the middle of the 20 acres. And currently, all we have to work from is the state's aerials, which we get every 4 to 5 years, in combination with Google Maps, Google Earth, Bing, all of that kind of stuff. But those are, I call them third-party sources, and I think if we had to go to court, I don't know if they would be considered valid, for lack of a better word. So this company is one of two that's currently offering this type of a thing. The difference between this company, other company, is that this company does 2 flies of the town per year, and you can do a 1-year contract with them. The other company requires a 3-year contract, and they only guarantee that they will fly the town once in those 3 years. So I would like to get the town board's approval and permission to sign up with this company and get the ball rolling.
I had asked you last time, Lori, about leaving the website with the state provider and just using this tool internally. And that's what I'd like to see us do. If you're
Yeah,
comfortable with
so
that.
we could definitely do that, because this company, you would basically be logging on to their website and then looking at your town, right, if you have a contract with them.
Right, and that
so-
would save us $1,500, if
Yeah.
I recall, so.
Correct.
I'd be in favor
I was
of
gonna say,
that.
that's like the hybrid version, and I liked it.
Yeah, and that's fine, we can
Yeah.
totally do that, because we get the state's aerials whenever they refly.
I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
Well, we'll have to put a form over it. Can we just make a motion on that during the meeting, Will? on that, to do that, or should we wait and put a resolution forward? Do a motion to approve it?
What exactly is it you're trying to?
You're trying to,
At the end of the meeting, we can just
yeah,
waive
It's
the
a
rules and make the motion?
Or we could,
just
or
wait
you could
until
put
the
it on
next-
for the next
agenda is
meeting
not
with a
big deal?
resolution, yeah.
Okay,
If
Next-
it's
you
looking
could-
like everybody's leaning towards it, then,
okay, so for the February 16th meeting, just,
yeah,
no, wait,
second.
we're gonna have it ready for the 3rd.
February
yeah.
2nd.
we don't need, I don't think we,
Second.
I don't know that we need a public hearing for this. This is a software.
Yeah,
No,
just fine.
you
Okay, so
don't.
we could put it on for the 2nd then,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Well, it's just signing the contract to get new software.
Okay,
And you've done, the research to determine that it's the
Fi-
best and lowest cost?
Yeah, the day after our meeting on the 23rd of December, I
What's the total cost?
Sorry?
What's the total cost?
It was like $5,000 for the town not having the public-facing site, which would be another $1,500.
Okay, no, it's within our procurement limits.
Right, you had asked for a comparison, and I recirculated the comparison that I had done previously for, when we were trying to do it as a county, between this company, the other company, and what the state offers.
just send me an email, formal request tomorrow, and I'll put it on next agenda. I love your emails.
Okay,
Reminders.
okay, no problem, and then I'll see you at the end
Don't
of,
fly it over my house, though.
they're flying over everybody's house. It's just a matter of whether or not we have to pay to see it. All right, and I'll be back up at, if you have questions about the last item on the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, number 3 is discussion on special district water and wastewater fees being charged to non-users. You've probably never heard of this here. I've been hearing about it for a while, so let me forward this down this way. And 1, 2, 3, going that way. Now, as you're hopefully all aware, in the town of Southeast, we have 9 water districts and 3 sewer districts. And way back when the first one, Brewster Heights was one of the first ones, I gave you aerials. It's marked, the first page is marked A, and the second page is marked B. And I took Brewster Heights because that's unique, in the sense that in A, Brewster Heights Water District, and when you look at the sewer district, they're not the same. The red identifies an area that is not in the water district, but for some reason, when they drew up the map, they included it in the sewer district, which means because the properties lie within the sewer district, they are being charged a fee, even though they've never been hooked up, could possibly be hooked up, but no pipes have ever been run there. And I had someone we all know came to see me. He had a complaint from a person that just became a senior and, couldn't understand why they were paying a fee for a service they don't have. So I'm going to use Brewster Heights as an example. There's 246 units. Where you see the red in the water district, they're not in that district. But if you go to B, they're in the sewer district. And by being in the sewer district, they're being charged $31.95 a quarter. And they can't use the service, and probably never will use the service. And the quarterly amount totals up to $383 a family and $1,500 for a year. Now, when I first heard of this, I really couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand how you could charge someone to be in a district and why was it included in one and not the other. Now, it's a good thing for them because even though they don't have the service or can obtain the service. So before I spend a whole bunch of time identifying exactly what that cost was, I did a quick check. It would cost $1,500 for the people in Brewster Heights to be removed, $320 for Hillcrest Water, which is off of Peaceable Hill, down, what's that road? Can't think of the road. No,
Spring,
Crosby
Spruce.
Avenue. That's Hillcrest area, okay? And then Peaceable Hill. So if you think I should pursue it, if you believe that a person is in a district, are not hooked up, probably never will be hooked up, should be charged from now until forever, then we would leave it alone. I think the fairness of it is that they should not be charged and they should not be paying for something they're not gonna use. Now, some of the land is vacant, has been vacant forever, and may never even be able to be hooked up anyway, because they couldn't build a house or they can't, whatever. So the bottom line is, with the individuals that are in or they're out, yeah, it's tough. So you have, Brewster Heights is the unique. Now, there's others now. In Hillcrest, there's 4 units. Mountain Brook, there's 6 units. And Peaceful Hill, there's 8 units.
Tony, those prices that you said $31 a quarter, but we got
Yeah.
to $1,500 a year, how is that?
Yeah, that's,
No, wait, no, quarterly, 30, well, that's for all the units. 31, quarterly is 380, no, wait, monthly is, sorry, did I say, okay, it's $31.95. You know what, I think this chart's on, I think it's 3. Okay, that's why I'm gonna need more time. Do I waste my time? Do you believe that if you think they should not be charged, like I think, and if you think they should be charged, do you want me to research further and bring back what it's gonna cost?
Let me just explain what you're gonna have to do if you wanna
I know.
stop charging.
I know.
You have to change the district boundaries, because by control of regulation and state law, anybody that's within the district is charged a capital charge,
Yes.
not a usage charge.
Right.
So,
But before I go through all that with them, I just need to know, do we want to consider it or not? Because it's a lot of, I'm gonna say a lot of work, but it's work.
Will, if we change it, are they then never allowed to hook up to it?
No, they can come anytime.
You'd have to expand the district again, so you'd have to go
Okay.
through the whole procedure of expanding and contracting the district.
And
And I don't know why these districts were originally created with the boundaries that they have, but there are, instances on Peaceable Hill where, people say, oh, I'm in the district, but I never got hooked up, I got my own well.
if, I assume there's a cost associated with changing the district boundaries, so could we, maybe this,
It'd be minimal.
yeah, oh, okay. I was
We-
gonna say, if
it's
somebody
already
did
done.
wanna come back in, could they?
They'd be charged later on. But I have, if
It's
you
a more of a process to,
come back in.
it's an extension you have to go through the whole process of establishing a district, which the controller's office is very much against nowadays.
Yeah, I guess if that was gonna happen, I would just think they would pay X amount of dollars to get back in, if that was even possible, and then,
Or you
Okay,
can do what we've done in other situations where somebody had a failed septic system and he wanted to connect
Right.
to the Blackberry sewer plant, and those costs were all borne by him.
okay.
But we had to, I don't think we expanded the district, I think he has a contract where he's, did we expand the district there?
I don't have it
think
on,
we did.
I don't have it on the map, but he is listed in the district, so it could be. Now, one of the other ones was Sycamore Road, next to Blackberry.
Yep.
The first 5 houses on the right-hand side.
They
when you-
they got lumped into
Yeah,
Blackberry.
by
because-
court order.
By court order, exactly
Okay.
right.
And-
They actually petitioned to expand the Blackberry district to include their lots. And this is ancient history, but I was here. And it created a civil war where the people that were in the Blackberry district didn't want the Sycamore Road's people's waste, and, because it wasn't good enough for them. And so the town board voted it down, and they sued. And Judge Hickman, in his, God rest his soul, in his wisdom, entered an order which was not appealed, that forced the expansion of the district, and now they're part of the Blackberry district.
and they never connected to it?
No,
No, they did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, because
they
they
had
had
to.
failed septic systems. They had,
Well-
it was back in the, it was an offshoot of a very dark time in this county's history where people in the health department were handing out permits for property that should never have been perked.
Well, I'm in favor of it, Tony, we're exploring it more.
Okay. Yes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I think the people that brought it to my attention, it actually started in 2019 and finally got to the point now where will make us serious. Okay, I'll start
Just
split.
one quick question.
Yes.
I mean, being a special district, so anything we're not charging them is borne by the rest of the district, though, so their cost will go up.
Well, not,
Your capital charge would go up.
Yeah.
But
It's-
but
it's
it would
minimal.
be, it's such a large group of people, but it would require the changing of the boundaries.
Okay, so in Bruce Heights, there's 246 units. As a matter of fact, some of these are old, because I'm telling you, when I was doing this report, starting it off, I found discrepancies. And I'm a stickler, like, checkbook, you're off by a penny, you used to spend 2 hours looking for a penny, now they get QuickBooks, you can find it in 10 seconds. So the numbers are a little bit off, but the ones what I started with, in Bruce Heights, there's 246 units, and there's 12 that are paying partially. Hillcrest, there's 130, 4 are in there that shouldn't be. 41 on Mountain Brook, and there's 6 that shouldn't be. And Peaceable Hill has 144, and there's 8 that shouldn't be, based on my first round of reading it.
Yeah, so there's only one that's kind of close, that could, what was it, 6 and 44, that could be a decent impact. but-
So
Well, well,
it should be 40.
I have to rework it, yeah.
Divided by 480, so $10.
I'll get the number.
Okay.
But the thing is, these people have been paying for it for years. I mean, Bruce Heights has been around for a long time, and it affects the 12 people. So what
Yeah,
I'll do
that's
now,
why It's been so long, that's why I feel like there has to be a reason we're not thinking of. Like, how could this have gone on for 70 years?
because no one paid
without-
attention to it. You know, people, I get all kinds of crazy, you want to sit in my office someday and see the crazy calls I get? But this really isn't crazy. I mean, in 2019, when I first heard of it, I said, but that doesn't make sense. Why would I pay? I got a gas line running in front of my house. So why do I have to pay for the gas line running by my house and I can't connect to it? That's not what the truth is, but I'm just trying to say. And the ones at Brewster Heights, I mean, I know the residents down below on that, the road there, the Quonset hut at the bottom of the hill's a business. The big white house that used to be owned by the Bloomers way back when, and their house is in there, and they'll never connect. Okay, so I'll spend some time, put together a better package, and we'll go from there. Thank you for letting me at least negotiate. Okay. Now, you know what? Let me see your second page. I lost mine here somewhere.
We're up to the regular meeting.
Yep. Make a motion to go into the regular portion of the meeting?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the voucher list, $1,006,139.01. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Setting the meeting dates and public hearings, all meetings be held at 1360 Route 22 Brewster, New York at 7 PM unless otherwise noted. Oh, okay. I would do that. Thursday, February 2, 2023, and Thursday, February 16, 2023. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, resolution settlement of certiorari proceedings Atlantic Management, tax map number 46.5-9. Now therefore be resolved, there's gonna be a change in this. Let me tell you the change before, so I can read through straight. Go down to the assessment, you'll go down to the assessment, 18,460,000. So it's gonna be 18,460,000. And
Oh,
the,
60,000 instead of
yeah,
18,000, okay.
it's hot off the press, just came to me. And the settled assessment, 17,750,000. Okay, that's how I'll read it in, but what you have in front of you is different, okay?
Mhm.
Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast does hereby accept the recommendation of the professional advisors and authorize the town attorney to execute a stipulation of settlement, consent judgment and order on consent in accordance with said recommendation for the following. Petitioner, Atlanticare, tax ID 46.5-9, year 2022, assessment $18,460,000, settled assessment $17,750,000. And be further resolved that the town attorney is hereby authorized and directed to execute and in all stipulations, consent orders, and other documents necessary to reflect the foregoing settlement. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, next, wait, I gotta have that back there, I'm sorry. That's lost in this paper. Okay, public comment.
Wait, till we
Nope.
set the
Oh,
public
yeah.
hearing.
Oh, God, where is it? I make a motion to set the public hearing for, which one is it? No, that was waiting. It's for the volunteer exemption changes.
And senior
For
disability.
our meeting on February 2nd, Thursday, February 2nd.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you got that extra then?
We can do the seniors as well?
You want to do seniors as well?
Mhm,
Okay,
do both.
okay. Okay, a motion to set the senior disability exemption income limit increases 3-year phase-in for February 2nd, 2023. All in
John.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
You-
These are mine.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you. Okay. Public comment? Haven't seen you in a while. We know your name, but they don't, so.
Evening all, Scott Seaman, Town of Southeast. First, I'd like to thank the rec department. It seems that they're really putting out a lot more information and availability for our kids. I saw dance programs, ice skating, science stuff. And they're tying it directly to days off from school and school breaks, so I appreciate what they've done for the citizens of our town.
And we're getting MyRec soon, so people will be able to register online.
And pay with a credit card?
Pay with a credit card.
Oh, too bad my kids are too old. I'll make them use their credit cards now.
Have more.
Oh, you first. I also sit on the School Facilities Task Force. I just wanted to put some information out. The district is considering bonds for some school improvements. There is a vote next week on the Tuesday at the meeting when they're going to talk about with the options that are available. And we want to put out there some dates coming out for public forums, January 31st, February 14th, and March 20th. And I would ask, with the board's interest, if there would be any interest in the district was to come and make a mini presentation. I know your meetings are very timely, and I'm sure they could fit within your guidelines. If possible, I could have somebody from the district, Mr. Carlson, contact you to see if there is interest on your behalf on having a mini presentation that we can try to reach as many people as possible.
I have no problem with him reaching out. I would give him the feedback that the last presentation he gave was a little lengthy.
That was under different leadership, so I'm sure this one will be much faster.
Okay.
And also on a note, at a meeting, I think it was 2 meetings ago, the board was presented with the exemptions for veterans and for seniors. There was nothing on volunteers, but they were presented with the information, and I believe they'll be looking at it again at either an upcoming meeting or at the beginning of February.
You sure it wasn't, because the veterans aren't up for anything that I recall this year.
I saw one for veteran, maybe they
might
worded
have
it
missed-
wrong, but
they
it
might
was
have missed-
seniors and it was veterans. That's the way it was presented.
I-
So if that is an error, well, you know, I will make a note to
Yeah,
Mr.
ask if it is,
Carlson.
because the veterans, I didn't think were up on anything this time.
And on a side note, among the school districts, the Brewster School District does have the highest exemption among all the school districts. So that is still something to put out there.
Okay.
And if there's anything we can do, please let us know. And thank you for your attention.
And
Okay.
Scott, real quick before you leave, the school lunch, I got your email. I just sent it to the board today.
Okay.
So we'll take a look at that.
I did also reach out to another group, I believe it's Hunger Solutions New York, that is orchestrating. Last week, they made a big presentation up in Albany. They brought NISBA, a lot of the other school groups that are interested in the school free lunch program. And I have asked them for a sampler letter, maybe something a little simpler, which could just connotate what you're looking to do without having all the data and stuff behind it.
Yeah.
And if I find anything, I would be sure to forward it directly to you.
I was authorized by the board at the last meeting to write the letter, but I've been trying to get a sample letter, and Eric's been trying to help me, and we haven't found one, so
Yeah,
hopefully you
well,
found one.
I found information.
That Mark, he's not reliable, I'm sorry.
I'm not a good writer.
He isn't, that's true. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Okay, come on up. Right up to the mic, sir. And when you get up there, just state your name and where you live, and introduce us to the crowd here.
Sorry, kids, sorry. Good evening. My name is Maria. I'm from Carmel. They're my kids. Vénganse para acá.
Did you get the full name?
I said Maria. I said Maria, from Carmel.
Okay, your last name?
Rivera?
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Díaz el nombre.
Okay, my name is Jose Guerra. I live in 5 Park Street, Brewster, New York.
What one?
Jose Guerra, 5 Park Street
Okay.
in Brewster, New York.
Got it?
As my son, Marco Tulio. You want to say your name?
My name
is Marco Guerra.
Marco?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Go ahead, go say it.
You can lower that a little bit, sir. That's
My
good.
name is Mateo Diaz.
What's your name? I couldn't hear it.
Mateo Diaz.
It's okay. Did you get it? Okay?
My name is Shaylin Guerra.
Hey, come on, guys, speak up. You're little, but you got big voices.
My name is Delilah Castillo.
So they have big voices at home.
You were talking the whole time back there.
My name is Ashley Rivera.
Okay, nice to meet you all.
Can we guys hand you this?
Yeah,
You're from, go ahead. You wanna do it? Okay. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can share.
Yeah, right here, yep. Oh, he's
Thank
giving-
you.
It's the same.
Did you have any more of those other? That's it. Okay, you guys. Michelle, you can share with Will.
Okay.
Oh, no. No. Where did they play?
So as you guys saw the folder, we're from the Brewster Soccer League. I usually help out with the activities for the kids on Sunday. This is for the soccer on the field down the, I get confused, that street right there, down
The
Brewster.
Electro Zone Field.
Yeah, I get so confused with that. So, and he was telling me that this year we're not gonna have the field anymore. So I was a little upset. We went to the town of Brewster yesterday. We thought it had to be there, but they sent us here. And we were trying to see, you know, what we can do to have the field back. And I know he said the main complaint was leaving garbage and having drunk people. But, you know, it's open to the public. Everyone's welcome to come. And we have, even though, you know, I have called when we see people are drinking in the field, but we get no response from the cops. So I spoke to the mayor last night, and he said that he can help out on that side when they get the calls from us.
Okay, I'm gonna have to request to go into an executive session to share some information with the board before we continue.
Okay.
You know, just, I have one statement and one question. I did receive some complaints about this, and one of the complaints was, we do have a lack of fields supposedly in town, and T-ball winds up using that field sometimes, T-ball.
Okay.
And the field, you know, when you have a tournament on it like all day like that, the field is just, there's no grass left anymore in it. So I did get a complaint about that. And then my other question to you is gonna be, we leased a park to the village, and I believe it has a
Not
big,
that one.
what's that?
Not, they're talking
Wells.
lecture zone.
Yeah, I'm talking about Wells though.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure if you'd approached the village about using Wells, because they have a pretty large, probably soccer-sized field there.
We have not.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
also believe they have bathrooms and stuff there, and I
Okay.
don't think any of the teams utilize that field, so, anyway, we'll see what Tony has to say, but that may be another option.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss possible litigation. Also, take us maybe no more than 10 minutes.
Should we,
Yeah, we
Finish
will
the
go, we'll go inside, it'd be easier.
do you want to, could we finish the meeting and then do that?
No, they're gonna be here, we have to address their
Oh,
comments.
are you looking for an answer tonight?
Yeah, we can wait.
I just didn't know if anyone else from the public.
And
wanted
again,
to-
I'm not gonna say we're gonna make that decision.
Right.
I have to make them aware of some information that they may or may not be aware of,
Okay,
okay?
yeah.
Okay,
Sounds
was it
good.
seconded?
No.
Okay, what? I wanna go into
I'm not
executive.
opposed either way, I'm just not really sure what we should do. I feel the same way, like, should we just really?
I know
No,
someone in
because
the,
they,
I know someone in the public wants to speak on another topic, so maybe we could just finish him and then go into executive
Okay.
session?
Yep, whatever.
okay.
I'll support.
Okay,
whatever.
we'll finish, just, you can want, sit back, we'll
Yep,
come back.
that's fine.
And to
Thank
get
you.
anyone else who wants to make a comment in case they want to leave and wait till us to get done. Okay.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Tom Regan. I'm Vice President of the Brewster Fire Department. I think all of the members of the board are now intimately familiar. We have the district, right, and the department, and I'm Vice President of the Brewster Fire Department. First and foremost, want to thank you, Tony, for your years of service, for everything you've done for the town. I understand this is your last year. I wanted to take the opportunity to do public comment on just a couple of items. The 2 to 5 year question. So to clarify and explain, the first 2 years of membership in the Brewster Fire Department is so laborious and so filled with requirements that our probationary period lasts only 6 months. By 6 months, you're either in or you're out with the amount of state mandated classes, and due to our current leadership over the last couple of years, we no longer are an organization like when I joined, where you would come in and you just have an old fellow who mentors you and kind of shows you along the way and meet you at the next fire, kid, and we'll show you how it's done. The state, county, and other training requirements are so laborious that for the first 6 months, our members are training constantly. Those who are still standing after 6 months come before our entire department and are voted on to become full members of the department. So the reason I would ask that we look at the 2-year window is this. One of the primary reasons for this whole initiative is to help us get as many volunteers as possible, right? And for those who are not aware, hundreds of guys are out right now tonight. There's a plane down in Westchester, and most of the volunteers in Westchester are down there, and then Putnam guys are going down to supplement northern Westchester. So you can never have enough people when emergencies arise. So by 2 years, you are in or you're out. And even if you stay 2 years and leave, like was a concern that was brought up for later, then you're no longer available for the exemption. So when we do have our recruitment at our open house and other things where we meet the public, we would like to be able to say to them, if you complete our training program and if you stay with us for 2 months, here's an opportunity available to you. So I'd ask that we consider 2. If it's 5, as long as the initiative gets passed, God bless it, we'll be happy. But take that into consideration and it be available for any further questions. The March 1st deadline is imperative that, I just wanted to speak on that one. It's because we really want to work on our recruiting initiatives that are taught to us, a lot of them come down through Albany and whatnot. The idea that if we don't make the March 1st deadline, that any benefits wouldn't arrive till 2025 really robs us almost 2 years of recruitment opportunity, right? So if I had just met you tonight and I'm trying to convince you to devote all of your spare time to this training, coming out in the middle of the night, working on emergencies, and 2 years from now, perhaps you might get that, slight benefit. It's really, it's far-reaching. It's almost out of the discussion. So I implore my town to please, if we can, try and accomplish this by March 1st if possible. The amount of members or the concern that would be in front of the town, and I'm not familiar with the senior and the veterans exemptions, but that does sound like very complicated issues you guys are dealing with. And myself, I'll be working going forward with the town assessor to give her as much information about our members. But even as it stands right now, we say there's approximately 60 to 65 members who theoretically would be able to apply for the exemption. That doesn't mean that all of them are going to, because a lot of our members are younger people who still live with their parents. A lot of their members are not the primary owners on their house. If the wife is a volunteer, but the husband's name is on the house, you're not getting the exemption, okay? If the husband is a volunteer, But the house is under the in-laws, you're not gonna be able to get the exemption. So I don't anticipate that the fireman's portion of all you guys are looking at should have that much of an impact on the town. But that's the last point I wanted to make, just to give you a flavor for what it is right now. With the cap that we currently have is that 10% of the assessed value of my house capped at $3,000. That translates currently into a $17 savings per year for me on my house, which I consider to be a very average house within the town of Southeast. $17 divided by 17,000 hours that we put in all during the course of the year. So that is what we have right now. We're saving about $17 per year on my town and county, that's town and county taxes with the $3,000 cap. And with the removal of that cap, I believe that my town and county relief would be in the area of $200. And for me, as just doing the math on my place to see how this all shakes out. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. I appreciate any effort we could do to get this approved and active by March 1st. I understand you're up against other items that you have to wrestle with, but I do submit to you that the Brewster Fire Department, the volunteers, the EMS, the fire workers, would be a small portion of what you have to deal with balancing the budget and giving exemptions when they do. Sir?
Yeah, Mr. Regan, I have two questions.
Identify yourself, please. So
You know that. I think you clarified one, so people can't just sign up and there's a ton of work they have to do to be considered a volunteer.
We've intensified our background check situation just logically over the last couple of years, where we're running serious background checks and checking references on people to say, is this, if we're gonna invest time and effort, because the guys who do the training, the
Right.
captains of training, the chiefs, they're volunteering their time to show this person all that they know. So you wanna make sure before you even consider somebody as a probationary member, is this somebody who's gonna be worth your time and effort? And then for 6 months, there's a continual training rotation that they must meet and get to the next level, so that then, by the time it comes up at 6 months, we have monthly meetings. Everybody in that department knows that person because he or she has been around here constantly during the first 6 months. After 2 years, they've put a heck of a lot of time in.
And the second question I have is, I don't want this to come out, are there members that if they meet all those qualifications and then they stop participating or volunteering at some point, can they stay on as volunteer?
No, as a matter of fact, that's part of my job as vice president. We do that annually. Is we review our membership participation for the last year, right? So we have requirements, or what we call points, 175 points. It's a combination of meetings, training, calls, being on duty crew, which means you're available to go out in the middle of the night. We take rotations on that. We all do that at least one night a week. Some guys, women and men do it 2 nights a week, EMS and fire. So no, after we evaluate our people constantly, once a year, and then we also do a 2-year look back, because we've had situations like we've all had to deal with for the last 2 years, some unique circumstances, right, where there were some people who, say, weren't doing their fair share, but there might have been perfectly good reasons, family members and so forth. But
Okay.
so yeah, regardless of length of service, you must continue to contribute to the department. I'm a 15-year member now myself. I have to make my requirements like everybody else does.
Okay, so no one can take advantage of it, and then,
No.
thank you guys, you've been to my house a few times.
Thank you for your service, and thank you for the insight and additional information.
And
It's
yes,
really
and any other
helpful
questions, yeah,
in
please
trying
feel
to
free to
make a
reach out to me.
decision. Thank you.
Thank you,
Tommy,
folks.
Thank you for your comments to me, directed at me,
Oh,
thank you.
absolutely.
And thank you for explaining it more elaborated to the board.
Best of luck, Tony.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You could ignore the email I sent you now, because I answered all my questions.
Thank you.
Board, do you want to do us to leave or ask, or it's almost even?
I just had one,
I'm confused
no.
as to why they're coming back, that's all.
Who?
But the group for soccer.
Well, they don't have to come back, but.
They're
we're-
expecting a decision, but that's what I'm
But we don't
concerned about.
decide.
That's what
There's
I'm
nothing else
concerned
to
about.
vote
We
on,
may,
so-
based on our executive session, we
So,
may not come to a
If
decision.
they,
But we're not gonna come to a decision one way or the other.
We might, though. Well, no, we're not, we'll come to a decision because, we need an executive session. I have to
I
bring it.
understand that, so I think what we're thinking
Let 'em
is,
go.
if they have completed their presentation, we'll say,
Go.
check back with us and we'll,
There's no soccer for a few months.
Okay.
Just one thing, Mr. Seaman, did you have a question about the veterans exemption now that Lori's back?
No, I just have to clarify, because we got a veteran exemption paper and a senior with the changes.
Okay,
Nothing saying volunteer.
okay, got it.
I don't know if that's our presentation was wrong, or we had the wrong documents, or there's actually 3 exemptions floating around.
Okay.
I'll just check with the notes he sent out, from the finance committee also. I saw, it. I did not see anything wrong.
I don't know. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I guess we're gonna make a motion to go in executive session. No action will be taken this evening, and, make a motion, to go into executive
Second.
session, close meeting, but nothing will take place this evening. We'll come back another time with it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.